welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. I'm the lucky winner. Today is your reading prompt for the listener challenge is the following. Write about a situation where you had to let go of a desired outcome to find peace. And I feel like I'm living that right now. So this is day 2, feeling pretty terrible. I feel like I've been riding a roller coaster like nonstop, and I haven't been doing anything other than I have been doing my my homework, my vestibular therapy homework, and it seems like it's such an easy thing. I can't imagine that that is what is causing me to feel this way, but nothing else has changed, so it has to be that. So I'm just going to keep doing it. She told me to trust the process, so I am trusting the process. But I am not really able to do anything else. So I've been laying around for a couple days. I even talked to my psychiatrist today, and I just felt like I was in a fog. I couldn't really even understand what she was saying to me. I felt very kind of just in another world. And that's how I feel. So I thought, what should I talk about today? Let me talk about managing fatigue and brain fog with vestibular disorders. If in fact that is what I'm dealing with, we're going to go on the assumption that that is what it is, because I don't know, that's where I'm at right now. So, anyway, everything that I run across is exactly what I'm dealing with. And over the past 2 days, I've really been trying to pinpoint, like, what is it that I'm feeling? Like, what are the symptoms? Because it's not like this overwhelming headache or anything. It's not like I'm having the sharp pain migraines or anything like that. I just feel like my head is disconnected from my body. It's just really, really strange. So I went on to the Vestibular Disorders Association website, VEDA, VEDA, and found an article about managing fatigue related to vestibular disorders. And I thought, maybe that's what it is. It's like, it's an extraordinarily, like, inexplicable level of fatigue and brain fog. So I could really relate to this article, so I thought I'd share it in case anybody else with vestibular disorders run across this, and see if I can help, I guess, communicate what it is that I'm feeling. So it includes some steps for how to understand and cope with fatigue that comes along with this condition. So it started out by talking about, like, what is fatigue? And that's where I was able to relate, like, right out of the gate. It was talking about how fatigue can be a lot of different things, can have a lot of different symptoms. And so over the past couple days, I have felt like I just can't even get out of bed. Like, I don't have the energy to do anything. It's almost like that same feeling that I used to feel when I didn't eat enough, where you just don't have the energy. Not that I didn't have sugar in my body, like I was going to faint or anything, but just like not having that energy. But it's unbearable. It's just, it takes everything I can to do anything. So it also mentioned from low energy to brain fog. And I thought that is definitely what I have. I have brain fog, an extreme level of brain fog. And it completely affects my alertness, my ability to pay attention to what's going on around me. I just don't have. I've talked to, back when I was going to a optometrist and the optometrist, both of them that I went to in the past, I tried to explain to them, actually, it was the vision therapist associated with the optometrist, that it's like I can't focus both visually or mentally, both of them. And that's what I feel now. It just seems to be it's not ending. It just keeps going. So I'm sure that when I'm trying to communicate like this, I feel kind of like lost in my own sentences a bit. So who knows if this episode is really going to make total sense, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's what I do. So, the article talked about how people with vestibular disorders experience fatigue because of the extra work that our brains have to do. So, the central nervous system, which includes the brain and the spinal cord, is working harder to process the information from all of my senses. And this combined with the chronic stress that accompanies vertigo, dizziness, and balance issues, all of that together creates fatigue. And with that fatigue, there is inevitably an emotional response. And so that's what I was talking to my psychiatrist about today, is this emotional response that I'm having. It's almost like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I'm like, what came first? Was I depressed first? Or did I not feel well first? Because it's hard to decipher what's going on. And the article talked about feeling almost guilt and shame for having reduced energy. And I do feel that way. I was thinking exactly that over the past 2 days. I was thinking, feeling guilty, which is, I'm the only one that's making up that story in my head about feeling guilty for not feeling well. My psychiatrist was talking about like giving myself permission to have some self-care days. Her and I had been talking about all these goals, my quilt goal and my voiceover goal, and trying to get back into yoga and all of these things. And she was like, right now you need to be focusing on just taking care of yourself. And so that's my homework this week for my psychiatrist is to take care of myself. This morning when I got out of bed, it was everything I could do to get up. So I get up at about 7 with my dogs every morning, and I feed them breakfast, take them out, and then I go back and sit back in my bed and listen to my AA meeting. And then what I've been doing the past 2 days is, after I'm done listening, I just lay back down, and the three of us sleep until like 10. Yesterday it was 10:30, today it was 10. And I got up at 10 today, sat up, and I thought, I just don't even want to get up. I sat there and stared for at least 15 minutes. I just stared in silence. And I thought, normally I would think at that time, what is my goal for the day? Is it I'm going to work on my quilt? Is it I'm going to make some sourdough bread? Like, what is my goal for the day? And while I was sitting there, I thought, my goal for the day is to get up and take a shower. That's it. If I can take a shower today, then today is a success. That's how I felt. And I talked to my psychiatrist about that. I was like, it's like I have to, you know, change the I guess ease of the goal, like the simplicity of the goal that I'm reaching for the day, depending on how I feel. And she was trying to put it into perspective for me. She's like, you know, you need to recognize that when you're living with a chronic illness, um, don't minimize the importance or the difficulty of getting up and taking a shower. Because on days that are bad, it's a difficult thing. It's a hard thing to do when you're sick, to get up and take a shower. So don't minimize that. Don't make yourself feel like, well, this is all I can do today is get up and take a shower, because that's how I felt this morning. I thought that it was like I wasn't accomplishing anything. And she said that it was important to recognize that on difficult days, doing something like that is just as important as having a goal, like, working on your quilt or whatever, it is. So, so I liked that. I like that. Sometimes you just feel like you need permission to feel the way that you do. And I think that's why I was seeking this article, because I thought I need permission to feel the way that I feel. I need permission to feel bad. I was trying to explain to her, like, I don't know that I am still like at the point where I'm like not totally classifying myself as a disabled person with a chronic illness. I don't look at myself that way. And because I don't do that, when I have a bad day or the bad couple days like I have been, it's like it's unacceptable to me. That's kind of, and then I start feeling like the article says I have this stress, which then has an emotional response. And then, there are social factors involved. I'm not reaching out to people. And so I'm trying to make a point to do that as well. And I did that today. It was about, I had already fed my dog, so it was after 5 o'clock. And I thought, I need to reach out to people that make me happy. So I sent a bunch of texts to my kids and to my immediate family. My mom and my sister and my brother have like a text. So I just reached out to them and said, what's going on? And then my son called me this evening, which really made a huge difference for me. So trying to make sure that I don't isolate myself, and even when I don't feel like helping myself, I start feeling sorry for myself and don't want to help myself. And that's depression feeding on itself. And I know better than that. It's not always something I can fight, but today I was able to do that and reach out to people that I care about and that care about me. So the article talks a bit about creating a forward thinking mindset. And using words like yet and when in order to manage this negative feeling. So, for example, like saying that I don't have the energy to walk the dogs around the block. Instead, say, I don't have the energy to walk the dogs around the block yet. And just that one word can be more empowering. And also using the word when, like when I feel well enough to walk the dogs around the block. It removes that finite, um, uh, I guess, mindset around that sentence, and helps to think about it as this isn't a permanent situation. Like, I'm not always going to feel this terrible. Um, and then the article goes on to talk about triggers and knowing what types of things are, what activities cause triggers. So for me, things like lights, patterns, having my environment change, emotional factors that cause me to not feel well, and just trying to really manage those the best that I can and modify them also. So it talks about making sure that you have enough water, so that you're not dehydrated, making sure that you're eating healthy, you have a consistent sleep schedule. So one thing that I did today was, because as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like I thought this is really reminiscent to when if I don't eat enough, it's just kind of like that. I don't feel well. So I thought, well, let me make sure that I'm eating, you know, all my meals, because yesterday I pretty much slept through my meals. So today I made sure that I got up and I ate. I ate healthy. I had Brussels sprouts and kale and all of my yummy vegan food. I'm taking my vitamins to make sure that anything that I might be missing out on is being supplemented, and I still feel terrible, but I'm doing everything that I need to be doing. So, um, I yeah, then later the article talks about managing stress, anxiety, and depression. So, I think my stress level, I think, is just a factor of the situation, but I don't recognize any other stress in my life right now. The depression is real. I feel that right now. Uh, that's why I reached out to my kids tonight, because I thought, well, if there's anything that makes me happy, it's to talk to them. So I'm going to make sure that I talk to them as much as possible over the next, couple days, and until maybe I get out of this funk that I'm in. I also um, am planning on doing a meditation. I started listening to a meditation this evening, but I can't even really handle noise right now. Even a soft meditation voice is just too much for me. I just want silence. But before I go to bed, I'll do a meditation with calm. Tamara Levitt, her voice is never aggravating to me. It's so funny because so Tamara Levitt is the person who started Calm, the Calm app. And when I first was listening to the meditations on there, I couldn't stand her voice. It's so funny. I couldn't stand it. And we would listen to it in my sobriety meeting on Thursday mornings. We have a meditation meeting, and we listen to her meditation for 10 minutes. And I was always like, oh, I just can't even listen to her voice. I would mute it during the meditation because I couldn't stand her voice. I don't know why, because now I rely on her voice. Like, I don't want to hear anybody else's meditations but hers now. So it's just funny how I guess things change. So the article talks about taking breaks, finding quiet corners, um, doing some deep breathing, grounding exercises, um, managing. The vestibular therapist told me on Monday to try to sit in simple environments. And that would mean like when I don't, well, she said when I'm doing my activities to face a wall. So there's not anything else in the room that's gonna, I guess, trigger my head. And I have not been doing that. So I'll need to focus on that a little more, making sure that I follow directions exactly. Another thing the article talked about is creating having a journal. So that is something that I've been doing. I write down how I feel a few times a day, and I always put a number to it. So from 1 to 10, where am I at? And over the past couple days, I have been at an 8. 9 is when the sharp pains hit. That's what I classify it as. So I've been feeling an 8. I'm supposed to be, excuse me, I'm supposed to be at a 5 or less. And I have not been at a 5 or less since I woke up yesterday morning. So the article also talks about creating a weekly plan to manage fatigue. So this includes planning around triggers and incorporating lifestyle modifications or stress reduction activities. And then having an exposure plan so that you can gradually increase your tolerance for activities. So that is what I'm working on with the vestibular therapist. And this is what I hear. I mean, when I was sitting in my support group yesterday for vestibular patients, they were all talking about that, about this exposure therapy. And the more that you try to do something and introduce yourself to it, slowly you increase your tolerance for it. So I am trying so hard to be patient. And then the article talks a bit more about advocating for yourself and educating others around you on how you feel so that they can support you. And, I'm trying to do that. Mostly I'm around my husband, but I have been trying to reach out and explain how I feel to like my family. I think it's helpful for me to try to articulate it because it's just really difficult to talk about. It's difficult to figure out the words to use to explain how I feel. When you have to resort to saying I feel like I feel like I have brain fog and my head is disconnected from my body. I mean, how's anybody going to be able to understand that feeling? Some other strategies it talks about for coping, talks about supplements. So I've been I've been taking a bunch of vitamins, but those apparently are going to take some time, a few months before I actually start feeling the benefits of them in my head, they said. Um, Talk about massage. So I did go was that last week for a massage? It might have been 2 weeks ago for the massage, and that did feel good. So, yeah, I mean, I think this article was really helpful. Again, it was on the Vestibular Disorder Association website, and it was talking about the title of the article was 8 Steps to Manage Fatigue. And I'll put a link to it in the description of this episode in case anybody's interested in taking a look at that. So I think, despite the challenges that I'm facing, like the feelings that I've had over the past 2 days, I do feel at least like if I were to be grateful, which is my job, I'm grateful that I have right now a structured approach to what's going on with me. And you know, I've reached out to a psychiatrist. I've reached out to ENT. I've reached out to a vestibular therapist. Um, and I'm going to a vestibular support group. And I'm calling one person a day. And today I'm pretty proud of myself for reaching out to my kids and my family because I recognized that I wasn't feeling very happy. And I thought about what could make me happy. Um, and that's my kids and my family. And that's a big deal for anybody who might also suffer from depression or is challenged with just sad thoughts sometimes. It's a big deal to be in the middle of sad thoughts and depression and recognize that and say, what can I do to make myself feel better? How can I treat my depression in a positive way? And I haven't always been able to do that. So I need to recognize that that's a big deal that I was able to do that today. And I'm just going to continue to try to manage my fatigue and you know focus on some self-care. That's really all I can do right now, and that's not a bad thing. I shouldn't feel guilty about that. It's not my fault that I had a stroke. It's not my fault that I'm suffering from this illness or this disorder. It's something that I need to recognize as a big deal, and it takes a lot of bravery and strength to face it, to do simple things like get up out of bed and take a shower, and to record a podcast. It's a big deal. I didn't want to do this today, quite honestly. I considered not recording tonight, but it's so important to me. It's a sign to me almost that if I don't record, then I'm being beaten by this. And that's why it's so important for me to get up and do this. So hopefully I am setting a positive example to anyone else who might be out there sick and suffering from anything. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I mean, we're all recovering from different things in our lives and trying to move forward the best we know how. So thank you so much for joining me today on Recovery Daily Podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.